Hey, it's Em, here to talk about The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. I've mentioned it in a couple of videos at this point, I think, where I've been tepid, and by the end of it, it was a 2-star read. I think in my spreadsheet I gave it like 1.6. What I've learned, Crowley, what I've learned is that I don't like this particular kind of thriller from like the Riley Sager one I read it a year or so ago. Like, I liked Home Before Dark, but then I didn't like The Only One Left or whatever one that was, and I didn't really care for like the Alex Finley one, and stuff like that. There's a kind of thriller story where you have a very specific kind of main character who has to be borderline stupid. So this book, the main character, Alex, is 30. She's an aspiring writer who works, I guess, at some kind of publishing company. Her favorite author is an older-ish Hungarian woman named Rosa Vallow, something like that. Rosa Vallow is having a very selective writing retreat at her isolated home estate. This should have been the perfect setup for me. I love this kind of thing. 5 female authors, aspiring authors, are brought in. Alex is barely at the point, like, it's supposed to be under 30 and she's just turned 30, but she's allowed to go. Unfortunately for her ex-best friend Rin, who they used to be her roommate and they used to be, joined at the hip, but they had a falling out. Rin is also there. Somehow, out of the probably hundreds, if not thousands of people who applied for this, Rin is also selected. It seems like partly because Rin and Alex have a successful writer friend who submitted for them and got them included. Because originally there were only supposed to be 4 women writers, but somehow both Rin and Alex get in. And shenanigans. Here's the thing, Alex is cripplingly insecure. That's the word. And she's also just fixated on this thing that happened with Rin, and she's had writer's block for a year. Look, I've gone a year, sometimes longer, with writer's block, so I get that. I understand that. But yeah, Alex as the main character is not, for me, was not very likable or even that interesting. And being in her head as this constantly insecure, person just wasn't it for me. And then Rosa Vallow, who they're all like, oh, she's this amazing writer and she writes these sapphic stories and so on and so forth. I'm all for that, except that Rosa was kind of this awful character, and the minute she appears, I'm just like, why do people like her? Sure, her writing might be wonderful, but why do people like her? And the truth is, she's kind of a hermit, so maybe people don't know her real personality as much, but she also doesn't seem like this kind of author who shies away from being who she is. Yeah, I don't know. I don't get the fascination and the kind of slavish adoration for her. So, there's one character, Kira, who is, of course, the only person of color besides, but she's the only one who seems to have, any sense and is clearly, distrusting of this situation, and, things go sideways because it is a thriller where they're all isolated. And, you gotta wonder, why do a writing retreat in, February in upstate New York when it's going to snow? Everybody's going to get stuck. Getting there is hard enough. Getting out's going to be just as hard, if not harder. Well, yeah, for a number of reasons. The whole setup is that Rosa's like, okay, you're all going to write a book in the month you're here. nothing that you've already started. You're starting fresh. We're going to meet each after. You have to do 3,000 words a day. We're going to meet each afternoon, and then you're going to rotate in one-on-ones with me. And it's a rigorous schedule. As a writer, I would be like, oh, no way. But then again, maybe the discipline would be good for me. But then, the meetings between Alex and Rose are really strange, and the girls start talking about the weird things that Rosa talks about in their meetings, and it's all kind of... And then Alex just feels like this outsider because Rin and another girl seem to get close, and the other two girls seem to get close, and suddenly Alex is just this third wheel, fifth wheel, whatever you want to call it. And, I mean, I feel that, but at the same time, I don't know. The dynamics were in some ways cliche and in some ways just not that interesting. And then the way everything goes, and I'm not going to give any spoilers, but the way everything goes, it just gets increasingly ridiculous. And look, I don't need a thriller to be super hyper realistic or anything, but I need somebody to root for that I see more often than I saw the one girl I liked. I want to be able to root for the main character, and I couldn't, because I just didn't like her enough. And I needed to not devolve into zany, almost Scooby-Doo antics. I needed to consistently in tone be creepy and tense and put me on edge and make me really worry for these people, and and it just kept devolving into so it wasn't for me. And I think what I've learned is these particular kinds of popular thrillers, even if the setup sounds perfect, it sounds like exactly the kind of thing I want to read, this kind of book is almost never written in a way that I'm going to enjoy, because there's a kind of writing that goes with this kind of book that's, I'm not saying is bad writing, I'm saying that for me is not the kind of writing I enjoy in these scenarios. I want a different slant. I want it to a different seasoning. I don't know how to put it, but I want these kinds of stories told differently. And that's just a really, as a personal, subjective thing. These books are popular for a reason. There's clearly a big audience for them, big readership. Good for the people who like them, good for the authors who have that readership. They're not for me, no matter how much I want them to be. I'm like, oh, an isolated writing retreat setting, perfect, I'm gonna love it. No, I'm not. I just need to learn to recognize the hallmarks involved in that kind of thing, because this is not gonna be for me. And it wasn't, which is a disappointment. But I know a lot of people like this book. If you know of anything that's kind of got a similar setup, but is, less commercial. I think maybe what I'm looking for is upmarket thriller as opposed to whatever this is, which is more like, it wants to be upmarket. I feel like it wants to be upmarket, but it isn't. And maybe that's just me showing my age, because maybe this is what is considered upmarket now. I don't know, but I don't consider it upmarket. I would consider something like Jean Le Carré an upmarket spy kind of thing versus Ian Fleming, James Bond, which is definitely more commercial, right? So I guess, when I read The Ghost by Robert Harris, that felt like an upmarket mystery thriller. So maybe I need more like that. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts if you've read it, or if you know of books that fit this bill but are, I don't know, not this, I guess, not this kind of thing. These are popcorn books in a way, and I know that those are very, very popular again now. And I just am somebody who likes to dig a little deeper. I like character books, but I have to like the characters. And this, I didn't give you kind of like a cast of characters and I only kind of like one of them that I'm barely getting any time with. That's a problem for me. I mean, you know, again, all subjective, but that's The Writing Retreat by Julia Bartz. And I picked up The Business of Writing or something like that by Jane Friedman. So that's nonfiction, a marketing book, as I get ready to relaunch a book I wrote and published almost 10 years ago, but is out in November. I will leave a link to pre-order it in the description. There will be arcs soon, and if you're interested in an arc, and it'll be an e-arc, but if you're interested in that, let me know that too. It's a YA fantasy. But yeah, I'm still reading Queen of the Damned. We'll finish that up soon, I hope. But anyway, until next time, take care.